Everyone has that crazy relative that their parents don't want them to hang around. And typically, this is because the parents don't want the child to pick up any of the crazy relative's bad habits. Even though usually it's revealed that the parent has a deep dark secret, but I digress. But when it comes to the veteran hunter known as Qrow Branwen, there's actually a pretty good reason for him to stay away from his family. And, well, a pretty good reason for him to stay away from everyone else. This reason is because of, the fact that Qrow is literally a bad luck charm. But of course, everything Qrow does is over the top, so he doesn't just give you normal bad luck. He gives you the kind of bad luck that you'd get if you walked under a ladder while smashing some mirrors and a black cat walked in front of you. Like, it's that bad. So, as the thumbnail advertises, I don't do clickbait. Today, we're going to calculate and quantify the actual power of Qrow Branwen.
Come take it.
Hello Internet, JoJo here, and welcome to Idea Shock. Today, we got, the fourth RWBY video I've done? Wow.
I always come back.
Okay, only a few seconds in and I'm already halfway gone. That's got to be a new record. Anyways, moving on to the actual topic at hand, today we get another RWBY character on the chopping block. Qrow and his sister Raven were born to a family of bandits and were supposed to grow up and eventually take over as the bandits' leader. So, when they were old enough, both Qrow and Raven were shipped off and enrolled at Beacon Academy so they could train and learn the required skills in order to hunt other huntsmen. Basically, they were to become huntsmen hunters. Needless to say, but I'm gonna say it anyway because that's what I do, they were not the best type of people. No, scratch that. They were the worst type of people.
You're just the worst.
When they enrolled at Beacon Academy, they became one half of Team Stark, along with Summer Rose and this blonde dude who no one really cares about anymore. Is that a button down and cargo shorts?
I've seen worse.
Anyway, even since the start of their tenure at Beacon, Qrow and Raven were always supposed to return to their bandit camp. But then Raven and the blonde dude had a daughter. This event obviously led to a conflict of interest for Raven. So, Raven decided to take a long walk and think about it. Luckily, Qrow's like, nah fam, I ain't leaving my family for you bandits. I mean, after all, you're the bad guys. Because of, the murdering. So, Qrow made up his mind and decided to stay with his real family. Unfortunately, this couldn't last long, as misfortune follows Qrow everywhere. This led to Qrow eventually having to leave his family and become a spy for the governments of the world. Years passed and Qrow returned in order to reconnect with his family. Fortunately, he came back just in time to play the role of teacher to the majority of the main cast. For a while at least. When Qrow was first introduced in the story, he immediately decided to pick a fight with the military officer Winter Schnee. During this fight, Qrow swings his sword at Winter but ends up cutting a lamppost in half. A typical lamppost is made of cast iron, and cast iron has a shear strength of 420 megapascals, or over 60,900 pounds of force per square inch. Measuring Qrow's shirt buttons, we can find that the cross-sectional area of his lamppost is about half a square meter. Using these numbers, and we can find that Qrow would have needed to produce over 177 megajoules of energy, with just this one attack. The funny thing is, this feat is a throwaway feat. I mean, it's only on screen for like 2 seconds. Guys, if you actually look for them, fights from early RWBY are just filled to the brim with feats to analyze. I'm talking about feats like Pyrrha launching this Grim halfway across the city, or this 400-foot jump that Qrow makes. Wait, what? Qrow makes a jump that's over 400 feet? That's impressive, even though, he can fly, but anyway. Typically, a human male can jump about 2 feet in the air, so comparing this to Qrow's jump, and we find that he can jump 200 times higher than a normal human. Making a logical jump, get it? A logical jump.
Stop it. Get some help.
This is comedic gold, guys. I mean, come on. From there, we can make a logical assumption that Qrow is 200 times stronger than a normal human. According to an article on livestrong.com, a human male can lift about 150 pounds on average. So, multiplying this by 200, and we find that Qrow should be able to lift about 30,000 pounds, or roughly 15 US tons. Granted, this is not a perfect measurement, but it does prove that Qrow's physique is far stronger than just peak human. Now, a different feat from the same fight is when Qrow swung his sword with enough power that he slammed into the ground and made a large crater. Using this guy in the background as our ruler, and assuming that he's an average height of 5'9", we can find the dimensions of this crater. The depth of this crater comes out to be about 22.4 inches, and the diameter comes out to be about 343 inches. So, using the diameter to find the surface area, and then multiplying it by the depth, we can find that this crater's volume is about 34 million cubic centimeters. Now, when finding the material that the ground is most likely made of, we first need to take a look at the geographical location of Beacon Academy. The Academy itself is an ornate castle structure that was built a long time ago. But not only that, Beacon is also surrounded by several major stone mountains. So, because of this, we can assume that the material that makes up the majority of Beacon Academy is most likely a low-strength granite. According to the Jackson School of Geoscience, low-quality granite has a shear strength in the range of 14 megapascals. Now that we know this, we only need to multiply the crater's volume by that shear strength. With that, we find that Qrow had to have dealt over 477 megajoules of energy, just to make a crater of this size. The energy from this feat is about 2.5 times stronger than what Qrow dealt in his previous feat when he cut the lamppost in half. So, basically guys, Qrow's pretty powerful. There's a reason he's a legend. Now, don't get me wrong, I know that when Qrow first showed up in the series, he was kind of a jerk.
You realize you just destroyed Atlas military property.
Oh, I'm sorry. See, I mistook this for some sort of sentient garbage.
But come on guys, apparently none of the Shnees can take a joke.
If you won't hold your tongue, then I will gladly remove it for you.
That escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
I guess that you could say that they need to calm down.
I'm not even sorry.
It is comedic gold, guys. During this fight, Winter launched herself towards Qrow at an incredibly high speed. When she hits Qrow, the kinetic energy is so powerful that it breaks the entire arch that he was standing on. Using Winter as our ruler here, we can find this arch is 400 centimeters wide, 1,000 centimeters tall, and about 3,285 centimeters long. Now, as everyone learned in school, or at least I hope you learned in school, the volume of an object equals the length times the width times the height. So, doing that, we can find that this arch has a volume of 1,300,000,000 cubic centimeters of granite. Using the same low granite shear strength that we used before, 14 megapascals, we find to break this arch like this, Winter had to have hit Qrow with over 800,200,000,000 joules of energy, or about 4.35 tons of TNT. However, not only does Qrow take this hit, but he's just like, cool with it. His aura doesn't even get close to breaking. In fact, there is very few times that it does break. The first time it breaks is when he fights Syrian. If you recall from one of my other RWBY videos, it may actually be my RWBY video, I mentioned that I hate this fight. One of the many reasons that I hate this fight is because of the fact that Tyrion breaks Qrow's aura in about one hit. This would make Tyrion stronger than even the maidens. So, basically, as far as I'm concerned, this fight never happened. So, yeah, don't ask me to analyze Tyrion, please. Anyway, with that stated, guys, you know I don't like this fight. Let's just move on from here. Still during the same fight, both Qrow and Winter are shown to be able to move faster than the human eye can see. If we were to measure this feat, we would probably find something in the realm of hypersonic. For reference, hypersonic is any speed faster than Mach 5. However, by using the kinetic energy formula, we can find a much better and more accurate speed. The first feat that we're applying this formula to is whenever Qrow made this crater. As we already established, this hit had an energy output of 477 megajoules. because we know this attack's energy output, we now only need to know the sword's weight in order to find his speed. And while finding Harbinger's weight sounds pretty difficult, it's actually pretty easy. As I edit this video right now, I realize that I just pronounced Qrow's sword's name wrong. Instead of Harbinger, it's Harbinger. You know, like the Harbinger of Death. Yeah, you get it. I mess up here and a little later on when I talk about the sword itself. So just remember, it's Harbinger, not Harbinger. I'm an idiot. In my Ruby Rose video, we established that Ruby's scythe, Crescent Rose, is about 22 kilograms in weight. Because Ruby modeled her scythe after Qrow's scythe, we can assume that Harbinger is at least a similar weight to it. So, plugging those two variables into the formula, and we find that Qrow had to have swung his sword at over 14,000 miles per hour, or Mach 19, about 4 times the speed required to become hypersonic. More impressive than that is the fact that he did so from a standstill, while Winter's great feat of power required her to do it from a long distance. Speaking of Winter, we previously found that for Winter to break this arch, she had to deal 4.35 tons of TNT, right? We know this. So applying that to the kinetic energy formula leaves us with only needing one factor, the factor of weight. Finding Winter's weight should be pretty easy, as we just, quick Google. But, as we discovered in my Cinder Fall video, RWBY characters don't have canonical weights. Yay! So instead, we'll have to assume that Winter is a very similar weight to Cinder. In my Cinder Fall video, a video that you should totally check out here after you're finished, I stated that Cinder most likely weighs around 63 kilograms. So, using that as Winter's weight and plugging it into the formula, we find that Winter had to be moving at over 51,000 miles per hour, or Mach 66. If we follow that train of thought, Qrow has to be able to move at similar speeds because he is more than capable of keeping up with Winter's fastest speeds. In fact, he does it while drunk. Qrow is a master swordsman and marksman. From his stance here, we can assume that he is proficient in fencing, as that is the traditional fencing stance. However, that is not his best style. When fighting with Harbinger in his sword form, many of the techniques that Qrow uses are very similar to that of how a swordsman would fight with a katana. So, from this, we can make a guess that the actual style that he's best at is probably Kendo, as that is the most famous and most prolific katana fighting style in the West. Regardless of what style he uses when he's fighting with a sword, he became a legend because of his skill with his scythe. And while I would love to talk about it, he rarely uses it. In fact, in some fights you think the animators forgot about it. Looking at you, Tyrion vs. Qrow. So, disregarding whatever is going on with that atrocity of a fight, we can assume that Qrow is far more dangerous if he gets his scythe out, and his skill would increase dramatically. Qrow's semblance is bad luck. I have no idea how to explain it other than that. Oh wait, that's not true. I know. It's like good luck, but in reverse. To a small extent, Qrow can manually manipulate it and cause spikes of bad luck, but his semblance is passive and can't be turned off. There is a slight issue with how it works, as even when Qrow's aura is depleted, his bad luck is still active. We see this in his fight with Tyrion. You see, Qrow's aura breaks and then this beam falls. 2 separate occasions. And then Qrow ends up getting poisoned, but not going into that. The beam that broke is heavily implied to be because of his semblance. Of course, it could also be a continuity error. I mean, there's a lot of them in the series, guys. That's not even up for debate. There's just a lot. Other than semblance, auras really aren't that unique between each individual. I mean, Qrow's aura and Yang's aura are gonna do the same thing. Just remember that auras typically can heal wounds and can be used as a force field. Speaking of aura, if any of you guys want an in-depth aura video, you can comment down below and I might do it. I don't know, I don't have a whole lot of time on my hands. Before we move on, let me just say, if you guys like this content, then subscribe, and then if you think that you know someone that will enjoy this type of video, then share it with them. Qrow's weapon is a transforming gunblade scythe. It's a sword that can be transformed into a gun and a scythe. Now, in the same fight that we've been looking at for this entire video, Winter vs. Qrow, it's a good fight, a lot of stuff in there. We get a good look of how effective it is. While Qrow is chasing Winter around, he fires a shotgun at her from a long way away. Using the size of this arch as a reference, we can find that Winter is about 435 yards away. A full choke shotgun has a typical range of 40 to 50 yards. This means that Harbinger is effective for over 10 times the distance that a normal shotgun is. The spread of the shotgun pellets are also far closer at that range than a normal shotgun would be at 40 yards. A normal shotgun has an average pellet spread of 40 inches in between each. However, Harbinger's pellets are only 5.5 centimeters at their closest, but only 96 inches at their farthest. This is far more compact than any shotgun in the world. In fact, this is a far better grouping than many expert marksmen could land at that distance. Qrow is granted the magical power of transforming into a crow.
I understood that reference.
The transformation into a bird is pretty much instantaneous, and from what we see in this series, we can assume that Qrow has free and unrestricted access to this. However, so far, he has yet to use it extensively in combat. This is likely due to the fact that Qrow purposely doesn't use it because he's a tiny, weak bird when he's in that form, and he doesn't want to die. Makes sense to me. You know, for how popular Qrow is, he's actually only had 2 fights by himself, and only half of them are actually good. Granted, that's a better track record than some other characters I could mention. If you couldn't tell by all my passive aggressiveness, I'm not a big fan of how Rooster Teeth is treating Qrow. I mean, Qrow went from this to this. How does that happen? It just doesn't. Characters should always be progressing. Even if they get wrecked in their next fight, they should always be getting stronger, and this shouldn't happen. I mean, even Genos gets defeated in every fight, but he always gets stronger. And then he gets beaten again, but that's besides the point. That said, guys, thanks for watching. See you next time. Remember to stay spectacular. JoJo, out.